Pictures up, quiet, please.
Parker? What's on your mind?
I've thought about this all night. Whether what I'm about to do is the right thing or not.
Let me go in and talk to him alone, Dr. Mallory.
I did so only because he was working along lines contrary to the good of mankind.
Well, Rangers, looks as though Agents McKenzie and Hopkins are going to have to get to that hacienda and get there mighty fast.
You crushed all opposition. Made me the most powerful man in the world.
Hi, everyone. A long time no see. This is Good Movie Hunting. Sequoia and Danny are back and in action.
In action?
Yeah, you know me. I'm always in action.
Okay. We're going to kick it off like
Action
that.
is my middle name.
No, I'm pretty sure you don't have a middle name.
It's because I've had coffee, okay?
You had literally a sip.
That's all it takes, man.
Oh my gosh. I'd drink a pot and pass out.
That's your ADHD speaking. But
We just discovered you have ADHD.
I just discovered, apparently you've known this all along. I made the observation and you're like, oh no, really?
You don't say.
I'm like, thanks. I wish you would have informed me sooner. I was like, I wonder why I forget to eat all day and I'm just like, my brain is always jumping from one thought to the next and I'm so forgetful, and you're just like,
Yeah, but like I have an elephant memory.
Sounds familiar. Well, because I think you're more of like the hyperactive type, and I'm not so much.
I'm more of the attention.
No.
These are just words.
Words. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, we are back. We are sorry we've been gone for so long. It's been a lot going on. We had some deaths in the family.
Well, it's been, what, since October?
I think so.
Because the last episode was Rocky Horror.
For Halloween, right?
That
was our pick for Halloween.
It might have been. But, like, yeah, we had a couple deaths, and then Christmas, and then birthdays. And my mom came to visit. She hasn't been here for a year. Like, oh yeah, we got a dog.
Yeah, a puppy.
We decided to keep our fourth cat and get him fixed. Oh, and 2-year-old. But he's
now 3.
3, yes, 3 birthdays. I said it.
You did.
Oh man, what are we doing?
What am I doing?
We have a baby.
We've had a baby for 3 years.
How do we wash it?
Welcome to the club.
Do we hang it up and just spray it down with a hose?
Yeah, and just dry it on the line.
By his toes. Mom, stuck.
But that's the gist. Just life caught up to us, and we weren't able to really catch up. But now we're.
What about mustard?
I like mustard. Do you?
No.
No, of course you don't.
What color mustard color shirt is Dwight wearing today?
Dijon.
Dijon.
Always.
What? Look how fat our cat is.
I know, I wish we had cameras. She's like the centerpiece of this whole setup.
You know how cats are. They're just going to get in your face while you're working, and they just don't give a fuck. They just don't care.
I know there's a laptop near, but I'm too large to fit on it, so I'm going to sit near it. And that works.
Look, she knows we're talking about her. Look at her tail.
She's aggravated. She said, stop talking about my fatness.
If you guys are wondering, her name is Cinnamon. She's about 25 pounds of orange female Viking kitty. If she was a real Viking, she'd probably be a berserker.
Yep, she's intense. Not so much so after getting fixed. She kind of, I was about to say lost the thunder, but then
as I put my foot on her to like give her a little love, she turns around and gives me the good pow pow.
I mean, we did just say that she was looking agitated because of her tail, but okay.
Fucking bitch. Fucking right on my foot, too. Right on my toes.
Ouchie. All right, let's jump into it. Today, for our first movie back, we are doing...
First podcast of 2023.
Yeah, good point. I didn't even...
Yeah. Aquarius. it that right now?
No, what?
Isn't Jude an Aquarius?
Yeah, but I think we're already past it.
Oh.
I think he's at the end of Aquarius season. I don't know. I have to look it up now. You know how.
No, don't look it up, man. Fuck the Google.
It's no.
We got a podcast to do. Oh my God, you have an app.
I have an astrology app.
Such a white girl.
Sorry, I gotta know my daily horoscope. And if anyone wants to know, the app literally called Daily Horoscope is the best, like, most accurate in my opinion. So.
All right. Unless they're giving us money, let's not talk about them.
Oh no, we're still in Aquarius season. It ends on the 18th.
Aquarius.
There you go.
I'll always think of Steve Carell at the end of 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Of course.
That is just.
If you've seen it, you can't forget it.
Yeah, and then Seth Rogen's doing that like one part and with his belly. Oh my God.
That's good stuff.
Paul Rudd.
All right, our first movie back into the year of 2023, the age of Aquarius, is Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oof.
Which came out in 2022. It received a 34% by critics. They did not like it.
Wow.
And a 96% by audience.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Man, fuck the critics. They're always got some stick up their ass, bro.
And then I feel like they like the things that suck.
They're not. Yeah, and they like the things that are like so complex that you need a fucking manuscript to understand it.
It's complexity can be good, but I mean,
no,
do you
this
want
was
it to be
simple.
so much that you can't?
This was simple and sweet, and like it doesn't matter what they think because we pay for it. We are the viewers. We are the masses. Like why? 34. This got 34%. That's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is because here, let me just take a gander back into my notes. Freaking Rocky Horror Picture Show had a 78% by critics. Tell me how that can be. Just tell me. I don't get it. Who are these critics? Give me their address.
Well, I'm sure the ones from Rocky
them.
Horror are probably like some are probably left this world. Probably not here anymore.
Well, the rest of them are also about to leave this world.
Okay.
Once I get my mitts on them.
Okay.
Whoa, right into the microphone.
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know if this is like general, like common knowledge, but this
was this a Netflix original?
This movie was based on a novel, best-selling novel. I don't think it was Netflix original though.
No.
But it's on Netflix. That's where we watched it.
And you read the novel.
Yes, I got it for Christmas and I read it in like record time.
Yeah, like she was done I game a lot, but like she'd be on the couch and I'd be gaming. I'd look over at her and she'd have a smile on her face and then like 20 minutes later be like sobbing.
It's a very emotional book, and
the movie was emotional, so I can only imagine what the book was like.
And I feel like there were I felt like the movie did good about catching the overall, like what you need to get. You know, they got like the general emotions and the plot and stuff like that, but there are just so many nuances that go into the novel, so many details in the interactions, and her interaction with the swamp and stuff. Not the swamp, excuse me, sorry. The marsh.
She would punch you in the head. Man.
I can't believe I just said that. The marsh that you miss in the movie.
I feel like when you were telling me about the book, when you were reading it, and then when I was watching the movie, I feel like they left a lot of the dark out of it.
Mm-hmm. They wanted you to focus on the love and the everything, which is great, but I think you would have appreciated it more when you saw her background. So I guess I need to explain the plot for people who are just sitting there at home like, what the fuck are you talking about? What happens? What do you mean the marsh, the swamp? In this best-selling novel, it's about this girl named Kaya who has been abandoned by her family. She was raised out in the marsh in this shack of a home, and her father was a drunk and abusive, and so...
Can I comment on that about him?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this time era is what, 60s?
When she's a child, 50.
50.
It's like
It was
53, I think.
53
is when
it said,
starts.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he gave her that little backpack. And he says, it's from my war. From the war, I used it. What a way to show what a war can do to your mental.
But they don't. That's the sad part too. They don't even show in the movie what, or talk about what life was like before, because he was good. Like, he was a good guy before. Like, whenever he married their mom and stuff like that, he was good to her and stuff, and it was a mess. Like,
but like you seeing how he was like, it's sad what like PTSD and alcohol, and back then that was just left unchecked by doctors and stuff.
yeah, I mean, even today.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, people just don't want to deal with it, and so they put those people to the side who have been through those kinds of things. And so her father is abusive to everyone in the family, and so one by one, family members start to leave. And the most iconic part from the book is in the book she's about 5 years old. They don't really tell you in the movie, but she's young, and something had happened. They were playing in the boat, I think, and he sees the kids playing in the boat, and he gets like furious and starts screaming at them, starts hitting the kids. And then it shows like later that night, Kai is in bed and she's just covering her ears because in the next room her parents are just screaming at each other, and her dad's beating the
brakes off their mom.
Yeah. And so the next morning Kai is outside playing, and she sees her mom like walk out of the house and start walking down the driveway, and she's all dressed up and she's got a suitcase, and
she was out,
and she's saying like, "Mom, where are you going?" And the mom doesn't even turn around, she just keeps going. And so then after that, there's no one to protect them, there's no one to protect the children, and so then all the children start leaving, and Kai is the youngest, and none of the older ones feel like they really can take care of her, and so they just leave her there with the dad, which is horrible. And I, like you said, I can't even imagine leaving the youngest child behind to deal with that. Like, I know that they were all going through it too, and they were afraid, but have a fucking heart. Like, I mean, she's like 5 years old. Like, how could you leave her? And also in the movie, I felt like they didn't do justice to how bad the living situation was. Obviously in the movie they show it's like a say shack, but it's this kind of rundown, at least from the outside looking house out in the marsh.
It looks like it's literally the same size of our house.
But in the book, there's like, so in the movie they have like a couch and an armchair. They don't even have that. And in the book, everyone always has just like a sack of a mattress on the floor. People are piled up in rooms together because there's only like 2 rooms, I think. Kaya's bed's out on the porch, which is screened in. And they have like a kitchen table and chairs, and that's about it. Like, and they have no electricity, they have no running water. So their dad, like we had said before, is, he's a veteran. He was in the war. And what happened is he gets injured in the war, and so he, they send him home.
They didn't even touch on that in the movie.
He limps. I guess they felt like, oh, that's enough for you to get.
Okay.
And then later on, he gives her the army knapsack, so they're like, you put it together, right? I was like,
No.
But so that happens. He has to come home, and then he's bitter, because of that being sent home, and also obviously the PTSD, everything that happened to him, and he starts drinking, taking it out on the family and stuff like that. But so because he can't work, and then it's like the 50s, so the women didn't really work. Like, if they did, they worked like at a shop in town or whatever. But the dad had like a complex about anyone doing anything he didn't have complete control over. So mom had to be home with the children, and dad was getting like I don't know what exactly, but I think like checks from the government and stuff. But his checks were basically only covering like food, and that was it. And then especially once the family leaves, he's just spending most of his money on alcohol. And so Kaya basically only has money for like grits. And she makes the comment in the movie about, you know, she didn't know how to live life without grits, but in the book it's just so grueling how she talks about like she didn't have any way to cook and stuff, and so she would have to like, you know, make a fire and stuff and cook over the fire, and then she didn't have any money for like any type of seasonings or onions or anything, so what she would do is she would mash up the mussels that she would go and dig up into the grits and just eat that.
That's fucking
because
disgusting.
that's all she could do. She was 5 years old, like, and just so I feel like they would have done us much more of a service showing things like that, because then it shows how sweet and pure like her joys are in life, because she went through so much hard, you know, times, being so young and having to do everything herself, you know. It just,
but she said there was a point like when Dad, what do they call him, Paul? When Paul gave her his army bag, she did say right before that there was a time when it was just them two where he was really good to her.
Yeah, early on, before they get the letter in the mail from her mom, he's good to her for a while.
Did shit go crazy after that?
He teaches her.
In the book?
He just leaves. He just leaves.
Okay, so it's just like the movie. He just dips.
Yeah, so I think for the first week after the letter, he would leave for a couple days, come back, but then he would be in such a fit and, you know, smash and stuff and whatever she would hide, and then he'd leave again, and then eventually he left and then just didn't come back. But it's good, and it's good and sweet because he did show her how to fish, and she was able to see for a moment like the glimpse of the kind of person he was before, you know, before what her reality is now. But then the mom writes a letter, and we find out later that the letter is her asking him if like he can send the children like to live with her, and he just freaks out and he starts burning all of her stuff. And so now Kaya doesn't even have reminders of her mother. She saves like
the ashes of the letter. Yeah,
the ashes, because that's the only thing and the sad thing is she couldn't even read, so even if she did have the letter, that she wouldn't have even known what it said.
Yeah.
But and she has like a thing of lipstick that her mom left behind, and that's like it. And that's just so sad that she had to lose everyone, and then also lose every single reminder, no photos, no nothing. And I just can't even imagine. So then the way the movie does it, they show like the present day, and then they like are showing the past and stuff. In the book, it does get a little confusing. It's like each chapter they go back and forth between
I was going to
present
ask you that
and
because
past.
I like when they do that in movies and stuff, but I hate when they do that in shows. I mean, in books, because like
it was a little disorienting.
It's hard for me to follow.
But so in the like present day, what's happening is the like star quarterback of the town is found dead in the swamp. It appears that he
Chase
fell.
Andrews, right?
Yes. It appears that he fell from an old fire tower that was there. But the thing is, they're like really suspicious about it because there's no fingerprints.
What? Leaving that.
There's no fingerprints. There's no footprints. Nothing like that's there, and so I don't know. They're just like automatically assume foul play.
Yeah.
Whatever. But the only thing that they can find is there's some red fibers on his jacket.
If they think he was pushed from this tower.
Yeah, because the way his like official cause of death is that there was a support beam on the tower that when he fell through the grate at the top, he hit the back of his head on the support beam, and they said the only way that could have happened is if he fell backwards, which means someone, quote unquote, must have pushed him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you can still fall backwards. That's a thing, but...
Yeah, look at scuba divers.
Yeah.
That's how they get off the boat. They go backwards. There's a reason behind that, but I don't fucking know it.
It's because their tank is on their back. It's way heavier on their back. It would be a lot harder for them to force themselves to go forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. You're the one who brought up
I
scuba
thought it was
divers
way
and things.
more fucking
No,
complicated than that.
At least not to my knowledge. It's just the sheer weight of the scuba tank. Don't mess with the cat. She's going to kill you. So they find Chase Andrews, and then they're determined to find out what's going on. The town does have like rumors. They didn't know for sure, but rumors that Chase Andrews had been involved with
The Marsh Girl.
the Marsh Girl is what they call her, because they can't even. They know that this little girl is living alone out in the swamp, and they can't even be bothered to. Sorry, I said swamp again. The marsh, and they can't even be bothered to like make sure she's okay. Like they all just pass judgment on her and think she's so gross. In the book, there's a part where she's a little girl and she's going to the store to get like things she can't get at Jumpin's, like toilet paper or something. I don't know, something that's not at like a convenience store. And she runs into this little girl that's about her age, and she is kind of like, she doesn't really talk to her because she's so shy, but she's like interacting with her, and the mom sees her and just like acts like Kaya just attacked her daughter or something, like that was disgusting.
Typical 50s churchgoer type bullshit.
Yeah, and they did say that it was the pastor's wife.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
And want to know what else is crazy? The whole town is like looking down on this little girl, and mind you, it's in the 50s, and the only people that really cared for her as parents after her real parents abandoned her was a colored couple.
Yes, Mabel and Jumpin'. And I would die for Mabel and Jumpin'. Oh my gosh,
they are so sweet to her.
I love them, and I put one of my like last notes in the thing is that it was like she was an outcast, and so were they, because they were black in the 50s, and so they took her in, and they wanted to make sure that she felt like she had,
but all the white people
she belonged.
Was like, fuck it, let her rot.
Even though Kaya was white, they were just like, oh,
fuck
she
it, let her
lives out
rot.
in the marsh. Like,
she's a little kid, can't be bothered. I have
Yeah.
to go tell God how much I love every living thing.
because she doesn't live like we live, you
Yeah.
know, and she's not one of us.
So fucked up. That is just terrible.
So like we just said about Mabel and Jumpin', so there is like it's like an on the water type little convenience store
it's a
situation that's run by a black man named Jumpin'. Well, I mean, his name isn't really Jumpin'. That's what they call him. I think they said his name is James.
Something like that.
Later on. But it's ran by Jumpin', and Jumpin' used to see like Kaya's dad in there and stuff sometimes, and so by default he saw her every so often. But then he starts to notice that she's coming in alone a lot and buying things like groceries and matches and stuff, and he's like, something's not right. And so, you know, him and his wife like talk to each other, Mabel, and they're like, we need to get her some like clothes and, you know, try to like keep an eye on her at least. Like, we can't really afford to take her in, but we can at least make sure she's okay.
She has shelter and whatnot.
And they pay her for them. And I love that her first like instinct is she doesn't go for them and ask for everything. She comes to them with all those muscles she dug up, and she's like, can you pay me for these? Like, I'll do hard, honest work. Like, can you just pay me for them? And she gets up at dawn every single day to make sure she's the first person to get those muscles to him, because he tells her, he said, you know, it is first come, first serve. I do buy muscles from people, but whoever gets here first, that's who I'm going to buy them from. And then whoever comes after is just out of luck.
So she's being accused of killing this guy Chase because it happened in the marshes, so it must have been the Marsh Girl, because the whole town thought they were having a...
And because he's the beloved quarterback, they just thought there's no one else that would dislike him besides the Marsh Girl, who he was like romantically involved with, which is crazy because at this time we know that Chase is... So he's married. We do see that one part where it shows he's engaged. At this point when he dies, he is married, and he's been married for years. But they don't think like, oh, maybe it was his wife, like the woman who has been scorned, like supposedly
Yeah,
by
just
having
found
an
out-
affair.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, it couldn't be her because
Marsh Girl.
yeah, because
a
Marsh
thing.
Girl, like ridiculous. They just don't even stop for a moment to look at anyone else besides her.
I was really heartbroken when Tate didn't show up for 4th of
You
July.
were jumping way ahead. We don't
What do you
even
mean
know.
I'm jumping way
We don't
ahead?
even know who Tate is yet.
We didn't even find out that fucking Mr. Chase had a fiance till after 4th of July. We talking about jumping.
Yeah, but we were talking about Chase being dead.
And we were talking about
we were talking
jumping.
about suspects, okay?
And we were talking about
Jumping is essential from the get-go in the story. From when she's a child. Before she knows who Tate... Well, she knows Tate, but she doesn't.
Yeah, because when she was... When her dad backhanded her so hard, she fell off in the dock.
Into the water.
Into the water.
And he couldn't care less.
And
He was about to
just
walk away.
No, he dragged her out.
Yeah, he did.
But while he was dragging her, young Tate fucking was there to ask her older brother Jody to go fishing and saw how their dad was acting and just fucking took charge. And he knocked his dad down. And put him
Her
right
dad, yeah.
Oh, but that's because, like you said, which they should have touched on, his leg being fucked up. That little boy ain't knocking down a full-grown man without...
No.
So, yeah, that's...
But,
Put it
yeah.
together.
So Tate is a little boy who his dad owns a fishing boat in town.
Boat.
Mm-hmm,
A shrimping boat. A shrimp boat.
In town, and so Tate is often out in the marsh fishing in his little red boat, and so he gets to know Jody specifically, which is Kaya's older brother, and through that he kind of knows the rest of the family. But like Danny just said, he defends her that one time when her dad's like trying to beat her ass. And later on, after everyone has left, she is out. She's been boating around in the marsh, and she gets lost, and she doesn't know what to do, and she ends up running into
Yeah,
Tate
because for
out
those
on the
of you
water.
who don't know, when you're on a little boat like that, a little 10-footer, maybe even 6-footer, you're able to go down these like skinny sloughs and whatnot on the water. It's literally a maze, and it's not like a normal maze, like a corn maze where like it's a square. It's like circle mazes, and it's.
And
When I
she
went
gets to
when I
know
went
it
fishing with
eventually.
Peepaw, I was getting turned around, and you know me, my sense of direction is insane.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But she gets to know it eventually, but when
Oh, of
she's so
course.
young, she doesn't know quite yet. And so she runs into Tate, and Tate asks her, he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm okay." But then he sees her kind of like looking around,
Yeah.
and he's like, "It's okay. I get lost too sometimes. Like, I'll help you get home." And so that really solidifies, like, for her, I think, psychologically and stuff, because here she is, she's so alone and literally lost. Like, she's lost in a sense of life,
Mental,
but she's also lost physically, literally, and he's the first person besides like Mabel and Jumpin', but he's the first person to like reach out a hand mentally and also physically and guide her home. And after that, he becomes the feather boy. He leaves because he
so
knows
sweet.
how fascinated she is with the nature and the marsh and stuff, and so he'll leave feathers of the different birds and stuff in a little stump for her to find. And it's so sweet 'cause she gets so excited every time she sees it, and then she always leaves one for him too. Like, it doesn't show that every time in the movie, but she reciprocates. So that's like her only friend, and she does try to go to school, but everyone at school laughs at her, and so she just doesn't ever
she
go
had
back.
to go to school barefoot
And dirty,
and
because she
dirty
didn't
and
have a way to
filthy.
shower.
Well, she had the marsh, but she didn't do it because she was a kid. But like me being born 40 years after this is supposed to take place. What, 40 years? Like, I could never imagine going to school without fucking shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and like, if there was a kid going to school without shoes, you're getting Child Protective CPS is coming to your door.
And they didn't really go into it too much in the movie, but
Oh yeah, yep.
they do send people out to the house, like basically people from the school, like a truancy type situation, to be like,
Yeah.
hey, you have to come to school. They don't really care. It's their job
Yeah.
to go out there to say they did it, but they don't really care if she comes or not. They try a couple times. They don't even try to investigate to like see what her living situation's like, if she's being cared for or fed, stuff like that. They're just like, oh, you're not going to school. And then they just give up on her. Anyhow.
Get lost.
No, I'm just trying to figure out where to go from here. So she gets really involved with Tate, and that's really sweet, showing like their love story. And because she didn't ever go to school, he teaches her how to read. He offers to, because he leaves a note for her one day with one of the feathers.
I just want to point out that time has passed. They're not little kids no more. She's not that little lost girl on the water.
Yeah.
They're grown up now.
Time has progressed.
At least 10 years.
Yeah, she's probably like 16 or so.
Yeah.
And he is a couple years older than her. They don't say that in the movie, but
You can tell because he
he's,
was
like,
her older
2 or
brother
so.
Jody's friend.
Yeah. So he offers to teach her how to read because she tells him that she can't read the note that he left for her. And there are many reasons that I love Tate, but one of the main reasons is I feel like he doesn't treat her like someone who he's going to be the white knight and come in and save her, like do everything for her. He teaches her like how to take care of herself. Obviously he's like, I'm going to be there for you, and if you need help, like, you know, I'll do it, but I'm going to show you how to do things. I help you fish, you know, help teach you how to fish, help you find your ways in the marsh, help you read, help you write, like, so that you can be self-sufficient. It's like the fucking thing. Do you want to give a man a fish or teach him how to fish? Like, it's more beneficial to teach them. And I love that. But eventually, you know, like we said, he is older, so it gets to where he's about to graduate, and he's a smart kid, so he's wanting to go to college, and he gets accepted to college.
Yeah, he doesn't want to work on the shrimp boat.
Yeah, he wants to go on and have a big life and be a scientist. That's what he wants to go
lab.
into biology. And
okay, I love her career choice, but she would have been like a phenomenal marine biologist. Like, she was stuck in the marshes with the nature. There's so much more in the ocean.
But she, well, but that was her love. Her life was the marsh, you know.
Yeah.
It was everything to her. So what better way to honor that than to write about it and to, you know, draw and paint about it and stuff and educate other people. And that was the thing too, is that later on, she does end up getting published for her works and observations, because while people might know general things about
in the 60s,
about like places that she's at, they don't know the specifics. So for her to have like a up close and personal detailed account of all these different creatures and stuff is like invaluable to the scientific community. So
I'm used to our marshes, like Louisiana marshes and stuff.
I think this is technically swamp.
Us?
Especially
But no, I
like
kept
what we
like
got
she'd
out
be
here in the
boating
back.
and whatnot. Like in like the very first scene, we see Chase's body, and she's talking about death. I thought an alligator was going to come up and get it, but I have to keep reminding myself it's in North Carolina. That's a little too north for gators, right? Like, I'm sure there's some, but not
They
as
still
many.
have them. They show them.
Oh, they did.
They did.
They
But
did.
that's more, you're going to find those more in the marsh, I think. I don't know. I don't want to say things and then people be like, you're so dumb. You don't even know the first thing about
Well,
stuff.
sorry that when I see a gator, I'm not going to be like, what's up, bud? Like, no, I'm going to shoo it away. Especially if it's fucking longer than me.
So Tate gets accepted into college. He's
Yes.
going to go off and be a scientist, and she is supportive of him. She obviously voices her concern. She's like, I'm afraid you're going to move on from me, and there's going to be more interesting things and people off at college. And he's like, no, I could never forget you. And he says, I'll be back on July 4th to see you. I won't leave you like everyone else does.
And he never comes back.
And she goes out to the beach all dressed up on July 4th.
And
Lipstick on, a pretty dress.
her mom's
She
lipstick.
even falls asleep on the beach,
yes.
and he never comes. Oh my gosh, like gut-wrenching. And when she wakes up that morning, early in the morning, and realizes like he never came,
yeah.
and she just cries and cries, like, oh my God, it just... like, for a character that I love so much, I hated him so much in that time,
Yeah.
And so then after that, obviously she's so lonely and feels so betrayed. Like, the only thing that she has in life is the marsh, and that's why she loves the marsh so much, is because it's the only thing that's never like betrayed her or hurt her, like people have. And but people it's psychologically shown that people need to have like companionship, and she doesn't even have any pets or anything. They used to have chickens, but she had nothing to feed the chickens because she could barely feed herself, so all the chickens left.
Fucked off. She probably ate one of them.
In the book she doesn't even fish, like hardly ever, because it makes her sad.
But she'll eat the mussels.
Because she said they don't have eyes.
I was about to say, because they don't have a face.
So she didn't have to look at them, but she says she couldn't bring herself to fish because it was too sad for her to hurt things in nature like that. But anyways, so obviously it wants companionship. She's sad and alone and betrayed, and so unfortunately the first person that shows her any type of attention is Chase Andrews. And
Off the jump, man.
he
didn't even say like 2 words. He literally like was throwing that football. I was like, I want to punch you in the fucking face already. And I never even read the book. I was like, I don't like you. I'm that type of person. I have a thing about faces. Some of them I just want to see. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not warranted, though, and I know because I feel that way about Drew Barrymore in an intense way. I do not like her. I don't like her face.
She's the sweetest woman alive.
Everyone loves her. I just can't. I don't know how to explain it. I can't do it.
That's like me and Pat Mahomes. I hate his fucking face, but that's a damn good quarterback. He's a phenomenal football player.
So she meets Chase, and Chase, they don't explain this too much in the movie, but in the book, sorry.
Oh, man.
Text message. So in the book, you find out that the main reason that Chase shows interest to her in the first place is because it's almost like a bet type of situation. Like, he wants to be the first guy that taps the marsh girl.
Yeah.
To like say he did it, like he tamed the beast type situation. Everyone, and in the book, like a lot of the kids in town and stuff, it would be like a thing to do where you would go to her house and you would like run up and tap the post on the porch and run away, like it was a feat of strength or bravery or something to do that, like she was going to attack you or something. And it was just so sad
maybe
for
I
her
wouldn't
because
if I
they
grew
would
up like
come
that.
out. They would go so far as to come out to where she lived, but they wouldn't even try to interact with her. They just wanted to
tease her.
Yeah, basically. And so
What was one of the rumors about her? She was half wolf.
Yeah, half wolf. That she was the missing link and all sorts of disrespectful shit.
They said she was the missing link between human and ape.
Mm-hmm.
That's rough. That's funny.
You jerk. This whole time you're like, everyone's so mean.
No, they are mean to her.
And you're like, oh
but
my God, but is it funny?
But that's pretty fucking funny.
You're a jerk.
And then they're like, oh, her eyes are glowing. And they said she had glowing eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but if I saw a human glowing eyes, I'd be pretty
it's pretty terrifying.
I'd be scared.
So that, that's what it starts off as and stuff. And then you kind of get mixed signals from him because he acts like,
He pretends to be sweet.
Yeah, he pretends to be sweet, and he acts like, oh, you're the only person who knows the real me, and you know, I'm gonna take care of you, and all sorts of stuff. And that's another thing too. And I wrote in my notes is that Chase does a lot of small things that show what a dick he is. Like when he asked to come to her house, and at first she's kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure, and he's like, it's fine, don't even worry about it, like just bring me to your house. And so she's like, okay. But I felt like everything that Tate would do, he would be so respectful and ask her like if things were okay first, and he was very gentle with her belongings and stuff like that. But when Chase shows up, he is the first one in the door. He just slams open the door, walks in, starts picking up stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and then there's that scene where he's looking at all her drawings and stuff, and then he just drops them on the floor to go in the other room, and she like runs over and picks them up because they're important to her. Like to him, they're not, so he just doesn't care and drops them. But to her, that's like literally her life's work, because she does go on to be published. Like that is her. You know,
which was
pride
Tate's
and joy.
idea, by the way.
Yes.
Before he went to college, he gave her a list of publishers.
I did read a goof about that on that paper he wrote zip codes to all the publishers, and at that time, that was not a thing. It wasn't until about a year after this setting that people start to implement the idea of zip codes.
Okay.
I was just looking at trivia earlier.
Oh.
Sorry.
Ooh.
So yeah, basically Chase is like a huge dickhead, but he keeps leading her on, and then he'll drop little things like he won't come out and say like, Kaya, I love you and stuff. In the middle of a sentence, he'll be like, oh, and you know that I love you, and da 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 da, like, because he doesn't want to make it a thing, but he wants to say it so that it like hooks her, like reels her in, you know. And then he says that thing about, oh, what, you know, one day when we get married and blah blah blah, and she's like, wait, hold on a second, like, you want to get married? You never said this. And he's like, yeah. And she's like, well, I haven't even met your family. And he's like, that's not important. And then you later find out the reason he's doing all this is because he's actually engaged to someone in town, and that's why he doesn't want her to like go into town and see people and see his family, because he's like living this whole other life.
Yeah, he's hiding her.
And she's just like a thing on the side. And he's the first one to take her virginity in that like shitty hotel, and just doesn't even ask her like if she's okay or anything. After that, he's like, oh, it'll get easier, like he's like, I know you're in pain, it'll get better. And she's just like, okay. Yeah, and it's just so sad because Tate should have been all that for her. And then of course, like right when things are getting like really icky with Chase,
she also gave him a necklace, Chase, that she made him with a shell
with like a rawhide strap that he wears. And which I am surprised that he wears it all the time. I did think that was interesting.
He could have said he bought it, but like,
but people knew where it came from.
Ballsy.
Yeah, and he wore it, which is especially ballsy because he's engaged.
That's why it's ballsy.
Yeah, I mean, but even to like his mom and stuff, like she does eventually confront him about it, and he's like, yeah, it's from Kaya, like I see her on the side. And his mom is like so embarrassed by that. She's like,
what a football guy.
She's like, what if people know, like what if people find out that my son is sleeping with the Marsh girl, like
the half beast.
So, and then in the thick of all this, Tate comes back from college, and it's been 5 years since he left. And you loved this part specifically. He walks up to her house, and at first she thinks it's Chase, and she's like going out to meet him, and it's Tate, and she just starts throwing rocks at him on the rip.
Like she sees him, sees him, and like she stops moving, and like she saw a ghost, and he says, "Hi, Akaya," and then fucking a rock beams past the camera, and she's just hurling rocks at him. It's pretty funny.
I do appreciate that, though, after all the freaking rock throwing and stuff, you know, he apologizes, and he's like, I'm sorry. And he said, he's like, I got to a point where mentally I was like, I felt like I had to choose between living in society and you. And he's like, and I didn't know what to do. But he said, but now after living out in society, he said, I realize I don't even want all that stuff. If I don't have you, it's not even worth it to me. And then she kind of softens a little bit and listens to like what he has to say and stuff. She's not, and he says like, will you please forgive me? And she says, I don't know if I know how, you know, which shows to me that's like she wanted to, but she's like, she didn't even have enough socialization to like have experience like on forgiving people and stuff, you know.
That's one thing he didn't teach her.
And then after this is when Kaya finds out that she's getting published, and so she goes into town and she's shopping at the grocery store to get stuff to celebrate her publishing with Chase. And as she's coming out of the grocery store, she runs into Chase, and he's like, oh shit, what are you doing in town? And she tells him, like, I'm preparing for us to have a lovely dinner together. And his friends walk up, and everybody's like, oh, you know, who's this? Blah, blah, blah. And Kaya's like ready to be introduced to all of his friends finally. And that's when one of the girls in the group takes the liberty of saying like, hi Kaya, it's nice to meet you. I'm Chase's fiance. Yeah. And then you see the ring, and it's like, oh fuck.
She gets back to her house and has a complete fucking like breakdown.
Yeah, she's freaking out. And then Chase has the audacity to go after her, like doesn't even give her long.
Hold on a minute. Okay, she just got home. She was home for all of 3 minutes hyperventilating, and here's his boat. That means that motherfucker was like, I gotta go to his fiance after they ran into Kaya. Fucking got in his car, got to his boat, went through the marsh, got to her house. She was not home, you know, like 3 minutes.
He was on it. Yeah. Because he didn't want to lose that little excitement he had on the side. And so he shows up, and she's like, no, I'm not having it. You know, he's trying
she hid. She hid.
She hid that one time, but he comes back. That's what it is. Okay, so I think that's when, because he keeps trying to find her, and she does keep hiding. And I think it's that time where she's at the beach. No, he sees her at Jumpin's. That's what happens first. She's at Jumpin's, and she's about to leave, and he walks in with his friends, and it looks like he's been drinking. He's being a real dick to Jumpin', and then so she tries to duck out the door, but he sees her, and he stops her and grabs her arm, and she's like, no. She's like, I don't care that we're in public in front of your friends. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. And he gets a real attitude about that because he doesn't like.
He felt embarrassed.
Yes. And so that's when he chases after her and ends up finding her. She goes to one of her favorite spots, and she's out there drawing and stuff. And he finds her, and he's like, oh, I thought I'd find you here. And, you know, he's trying to talk to her and stuff. And she's like, I don't care about anything you have to say. You're a jerk. You lied, disrespected me, whatever. Tries to leave. He tries to stop her again. And then he hits her. And then that's when shit starts going down because he hits her in the face like really hard. And so she rears back and punches him right in the face, which props girl for just giving it to him, you know. She didn't do like a kick in the nuts or anything. She whacked him one in the face. But then he grabs her, and he like, I guess that turned him on or whatever, because he says something about like how she's gotten even wilder. And so he throws her on the sand and starts unzipping his pants, and you see her try to fight back, and he hits her in the face really hard.
A good one, disorienting
like so
her.
hard that she like her ears are ringing, and so she's like laying there trying to, you know,
come to. Yeah,
get back together, and he's trying to, you know, rape her. And so she sees a rock next to her, and she grabs it, and she just rears back and slams him in the face with the rock, and so that knocks him down, and she's able to get away. And then of course Tate shows up,
sees it
at her house, and sees the bruise on her face, and she tries to brush it off and be like, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it, blah blah blah. And he knows right away. He's like, Chase did it, right? I know it's Chase.
Yeah.
And he's furious. And so then later on we see Tate is at Jumpin's, and he's got the red hat. He's got the wool hat with the red fibers
that they found on Chase's body.
and they get into an altercation because Tate hears Chase talking about how he fucked the Marsh girl. And, you know, all this, that, and the other. And Tate's like, don't fucking talk about her like that. Get her name out of your mouth, you know, and Jumpin' has to break it all up and stuff. And so then at this point, you're like, oh, shit, Tate did it. Tate killed Chase because of the hat, you know, situation.
Because they thought that she killed him because Tate gave Kaya his red hat because she looked cold.
After that fight,
After
situation, he goes to check on her and see her and stuff.
But during the fight is when the fibers of the hat
get on to
Chase.
And then Tate just happens to make the mistake of giving the hat to her, not
completely
knowing,
coincidental.
Yeah, not knowing that later on those fibers would be found on him. But that's literally the only thing in the case that they can look at, and have physical evidence to say that she may have done this. Well, her lawyer who decides to defend her, his name's Milton, which I even wrote the guy's name down, the actor, because I love him, and
he has
a perfect
such a
choice.
sweet voice.
David Strathern or
You know-
Strathern.
You know, Ashley, my friend from back home, her dad is like his twin.
Really?
I swear to God.
He's such a sweet looking guy.
And her
too.
Ashley's dad, he's better now.
Oh, okay.
He's better.
I thought you were
now.
gonna say he's the sweetest.
No,
guy.
I wanted to like say real things, but I'm not gonna put like Ashley's life out there. But he's better now. He's a lot better now.
But that guy was a perfect pick for Milton because he's just the sweetest guy who sees how she was.
What was the kitty's
labeled,
name in the jail?
Sunday Justice.
Sunday, yeah. That's so awesome. You know how
They would
like
call her, like,
calming
Miss
that would be
Justice.
if I was sitting in a holding cell and.
She's the courthouse cat. It's so cute. And because you see Kaya, like, as she's in, like, the holding cell while the trial is going on and stuff, she keeps looking out that tiny little window because she just misses nature so much. She misses the marsh. And so
I thought she was telling time.
When Sunday Justice comes, that's, like, her only physical connection with, like,
anything that's not
nature.
human.
Yeah. And so that is just like what she needed, and so she keeps her. And in the book, Sunday Justice isn't technically even supposed to be back where the holding cells are, but because the guard who is a black man, he sees how Kai is being mistreated, and he feels bad for her, and sees that Sunday Justice is bringing her so much comfort. He's like, it's okay, I'll let the cat stay in here, you know. But Milton had recognized Kaya from when she was a young child and saw how much she was mistreated and labeled and stuff like that. And so he decided to take up her case pro bono to defend her in the trial, and does a hell of a job.
Oh my God, does he do a hell of a job.
Basically, you know, shows them like, hey, there's like no evidence except the hat, which is...
And the missing shell necklace.
Which, yeah, is something that later on, but that's not even evidence itself.
It's
It's like an absence.
It's missing evidence.
It's an absence of evidence. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And still, like I had said before, it could have been his wife who took the shell necklace because she knew it was from Kaya. Like, she could have ripped it off him because she was jealous. Like, it could have...
That's, at one point, that's where I thought the story was going. Once I saw that, she was like, hi, I'm Chase's fiance. I was like, that's who did it.
Yeah. But there's a part in the when she's in the holding cell and Milton's talking to her that I just was so impactful to me, because he's explaining to her what's gonna happen during the trial and stuff, and he's like, because this is a murder trial, they will go for the death penalty. And he's like, so I need you to work with me and do everything we can, because if we don't win this, you'll either spend life in prison, or he won't even say it. He says, or the other, because he doesn't want to say like, or you'll die, like they'll fucking execute you. And so she basically says like, you want me to beg for my life? Because he asked her to get up on the stand. She says, you want me to beg for my life? And she said, I never hated these people. They hated me. Yeah. And so she's like, why should I have to be the one to get up there and beg for my life to these people who never cared about me? You know, and especially now when it's me versus one of their own And so, anyways, he does a great job defending her, and they end up finding her not guilty. And so
Do you want my
your one note?
my singular note?
Yes.
Who does the actress remind you of that plays Kaya? The voice is almost identical. She didn't remind you. Didn't think the whole time watching. She reminds me of somebody. I can't put my finger on it. Winifred from Angel. Fred.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I see it.
A lot like her.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was my
I don't
singular
even want to
note.
talk about Fred and just how they did her dirty there at the end of the show.
Yeah. Okay. No.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. Sorry,
That's for our other podcast.
our ADHD brain getting.
That's our other podcast about TV shows that doesn't exist.
yet. So she does get the verdict of not guilty, and so she gets let go. And I love how impactful it is that the first people that she hugs whenever she gets the verdict is Mabel and Jumpin'. I just and then also too, I love that obviously she cares about Tate, but Tate wasn't the first person that she ran to. You know,
Yeah.
like I love that she's. I don't know how to explain it. Like
Ran to her
kind of like I said,
parents.
the whole white knight, the in shining armor and stuff like that. It wasn't about that. Like it was about the people that were like there for her from the beginning. Her parents, yeah, basically.
Her flesh and blood got the last hug.
Yes.
Because Jody was at the trial. Because Jody comes back years later. He was in the army. He looked like he was decorated a couple times. But he's like, I want to keep in touch. And then
he tells her what happened to their mom.
her mom died of leukemia.
And that she always wanted to go back, but before she
Was
could
afraid.
get everything together, like the money and all
She
sorts of stuff,
died.
she got too sick and she died. Which is so sad because then she would never get to see her mom and reconcile that. But anyway, so she gets to go home and she's just so happy to be home. And then obviously, Tate comes to see her and just tells her like, I love you and I'm so sorry for everything. And she takes him back and it's so sweet and precious. And then, of course, they have sex. It's like they start kissing because they're so happy. And then they just start fucking like.
And then it starts showing like time progresses slowly.
But he does ask her, so like they're laying in bed and he starts laughing. She's like, what? And you can just tell he's so happy he can't even contain it.
Yeah.
And he says like, will you marry me? Like, would you be okay with that? He says. And she said, I think we're kind of already are, right? Like the geese.
She's like, yeah, aren't we already?
Which is so sweet. But yeah, it shows time passing. Shows them getting older.
Shows Jumpin' passing.
Jumpin' passes away, and so she's there for Mabel when all that happens. And it doesn't specifically say it in the movie, but in the book, they find out Kaya's not able to have children. They do try.
I was wondering because later on, when they're showing that
Jody showed her nieces and nephews.
Yeah, Jody came over with his wife and kids. And I expected them to be running to other kids, and they didn't. So I was like,
yeah, they find out she's not able to
I
have
thought
children.
they just didn't want that extra responsibility. They just wanted to have their love, and that's it.
Yeah,
But
she's not able to have children.
She wrote multiple other fucking books.
Yeah, they are happy, and they have the best life, and they do. And he's still able to do his scientific work and stuff while still living out in the marsh with her.
Because the lab is close
And
now.
in the book, he actually sets up lab equipment in their home. They dedicate one of the rooms to, and actually I think they build
so she
on
can
a room.
study better.
And she gets to do it. She gets to look in the microscope at all the cells and stuff. So he gets to still include her in the world, like he wanted
world.
to. Yes,
Yeah.
like he wanted to do those scientific things, but he thought, I can't do those things in the marsh. But he brought that to her in their home.
Well, because she finally got electricity.
Yeah, that
because
too.
the whole time in the movie she had no electricity.
She
just
starts
candles.
getting paid for her books, and that's when she finally is able to get electricity and plumbing and like furniture and, you know,
She
to
gets to
paint
buy her
it.
land that only cost $800
Yeah. It's 310 acres, they said.
for $800.
Yes.
That's
and
fucking nuts.
And it's cool, like interesting too, that in the category, like on the land deed, it says that it's wasteland. Like basically that land is nothing to them. They're like, fuck it, I don't care if you buy it. Like,
yeah,
nobody wants this shit. But to her, it means so much.
it's
like
the world.
It's the world to her. And so yeah, it shows their lives together, and they're out. You know, they get to experience the marsh together their whole lives, and it's so special. And she talks about, like, I think in the end she's narrating and she's talking about her mom, I think, and stuff. And it's showing her, she's really, really old, and she's out in the boat. She's like coming up to their dock. She's getting home, and she looks down the driveway and she sees her mom walking towards her, like a day hasn't passed. Like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, but no bruises on her face, like she left with bruises. And so she sees her mom and she smiles, and then it shows her mom and her mom smiles, and then it goes back to Kaya and it shows her like her as a child, and she's like, Mom, it's you. And then it shows the mom, and then it shows Kaya and her, you know,
Middle age.
her, what we saw when she was like in her 20s, you know, face. And then she's like, you know, you came home. And then it shows Tate, and he's old and he's waddling around and he's calling for Kaya.
Wanna know who he reminded me of? Up.
Don't even say that.
He reminded me of Up.
Mr. Fredrickson.
Mr. Fredrickson when he was old. That's literally Sequoia. Don't.
This is the worst part. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So he goes outside and he's calling for Kaya because it's late and she should be home. And he sees that the boat is there at the dock. And so he's walking up and he sees her just laying in the boat. And she's passed away. And he's just like
Sobbing.
gasping and sobbing and holding her. And it's just so sad, like, too, that he missed out on those years with her because
How long did it pass? How from when he left for college?
5 years.
5 years?
So he lost those 5 years, and then she's the first one to die. I just felt like that was like probably a kick in the gut for him, like that maybe if
But they had they had
they
over
had a good
30
life
together.
But I just can't imagine. Like, I feel like I would feel that guilt forever. And he did tell her, he said, I'll be sorry for the rest of my life.
And I'm sure he was.
But then that, you know, after she passes, he gets out all her old journals, like
He
when she
looked
first.
like he was donating them.
He does. He donates them to the University
Of North Carolina, yeah.
so that they can have, that type of scientific reference and stuff.
Yeah, and
But
he's taking them out and he's wrapping some stuff and he's going through some of her books slowly and like
and she
saying goodbye.
She has drawings in her books of them together when they were young.
So there's even drawings of Chase.
Yeah.
But you know,
But yeah, he sees that page and he's like, ugh,
that was
and passes up.
that was a very crazy part of her life. You want me to tell them? So he turns. There's that picture of Chase, right? So Tate turns the page, and mind you, in the courtroom, they said that they looked for that necklace all up and down Kaya's house. And they couldn't find it, and he turns the page. Tate turns that page, and there's a little cutout, like stash spot with the necklace that she made for Chase in there.
Does that mean she did kill him?
And that.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't say. I don't know that she did it on purpose.
Did they say in the book that she
was
killed
there.
him?
No.
No.
It's the same kind of thing where
So she had to go back.
It's like the same ending. He finds the necklace in the book, and then he's like,
Whoa.
But it wasn't in the movie where they, you know, you find out that the hat is where the fibers came from, and there for a second you're thinking it was Tate who did it.
Yeah.
They don't even dwell too much on the book, so I was like, who the fuck did it? You know, like they don't spell it out and say like, hey, so and so did it. You know, they just like give you the things, and then they're like, think what you will.
But if she did kill him, that means she had to take the bus back at those times that the district attorney said.
But I don't even know that for sure she did kill him. Maybe he.
How did she get the
maybe
necklace?
He did
the
fall,
mom.
but she's always out in the swamp and marsh and stuff.
think-
Maybe she just found him. Maybe she just found him and took the necklace.
I don't like how they left us with that unanswered.
It's like that in the book, so I'm sorry to disappoint. I have no answers
That's
for you.
fucked up.
But it is the assumption there is that she did. But I imagine
She either did kill him or she found him.
I think it was definitely self-defense, though. If she really did push him
What the
or
fuck
whatever.
were they doing up in the tower, though?
But he does show her the tower. Remember, that's
Yeah,
her
but why
first
would she go
interaction
up
with it.
there with him knowing he's violent? That's my thing.
We don't know.
We don't know.
So
That's
everybody
fucked up.
write in. That's going to be our Q&A little
Yeah.
section this week is
Especially you, Deborah.
tell us
Because we know you're going to listen and we want to hear from
and
you.
write in your little I love that we always get your responses. Not many people will email in or whatever or comment so
My family doesn't really say much, so
at all. So we appreciate you, Deborah, and we'd love to hear what you think.
I'm always going to call you Deborah.
Deborah. It's not even
Deborah.
spelled like that.
But most Debbies are.
Well, she's
Yeah,
not.
she's not.
But yeah, so let us know what y'all think. And that is Where the Crawdads Sing.
And where can you find us?
You can find us on the things.
On all the things, man. All the
them
things. All the things out there, man.
Mm-mm.
No?
No. Bad.
Is that like Henry Zabrowski every time he starts
Yeah,
doing an accent?
we're about
it
to go to
turns-
jail.
It turns to
Jamaican.
Jamaican.
Even if he's doing an Irish accent, it turns into Jamaican.
Henry, if you're listening, and we know you that you are. Little shout out to No Press Network.
Right into
And Last
goodmoviehuntingpod@gmail.com.
Yeah. Do what you want.
We have a Facebook page at Good Movie Hunting or at GMH Podcast. Twitter at GMH Pod. Instagram at GMH Podcast. Our email is goodmoviehuntingpod@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope that you haven't abandoned us while we were gone in our hiatus. I hope everyone comes back to us because I need the validation, if I'm being honest.
And we will we'll see you guys next Monday.
But we're not going to tell you what we're doing. It's a secret.
It's a secret. Should we tell them what movie, or is the movie a secret?
Yeah, what else would be a secret?
I can't remember what the next movie is. That's my life. I have it written down.
We have it written down. Yep.
It's
Okay.
written down. Taped
Don't
to my
worry.
desk.
We know, but y'all don't. So
Yeah, don't worry
just
about it.
Rest assured. We know what we're doing, right? We're professional.
Yep. So Sequoia and I and our two fat old cats. We'll see you Monday. And that was Where the Crawdads Sing.
Bye-bye.
Pictures up, class, please. Parker?
What's on your mind?
I've thought about this all night. Whether what I'm about to do is the right thing or not.
Let me go in and talk to him alone, Dr. Mallory.
I did so only because he was working along lines contrary to the good of mankind.
Well, Rangers, looks as though Agents Mackenzie and Hopkins are going to have to get to that hacienda and get there mighty fast.
To crush all opposition, make the most powerful man in the